I implored him not to depart. The plea escaped my lips before I could restrain it. In the threshold of my domicile, a dwelling I had shared with a partner for a quarter-century, mother of 2 fully grown offspring, I found myself entreating a stranger, a man who had suddenly materialized in my life, never meant to hold significance. He stood there, his shirt tucked into his jeans pocket at the back, his palms still smeared with grime from sealing the final shingles. As for me, I remained there, unshod and gripping an empty glass that retained vestiges of water I had previously offered him merely half an hour prior. Unintentionally, I hadn't foreseen my emotions. Unwittingly, I failed to ignore the way the sunlight caressed his flesh, or how his gaze lingered a moment too long. Yet there I stood, feeling pangs that I thought were buried years ago. That was the onset of our demise. It all started with a roof leak and an unexpected thirst. Before proceeding, I merely wish to express my gratitude to each one of you who has subscribed to this channel. Your patronage means everything. If you're new or have been watching without subscribing, thank you. Your subscription is crucial for the continued success of this channel. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, as I read each one carefully. Let's continue with the story. I am Angela, aged 48, residing in Anchorage, Alaska. Life here can be tranquil, routine, and chilly, reflecting both the weather and sometimes our marriage. My husband, Andy, who is 53, is reliable, responsible, and compassionate. Yet somewhere amidst raising our children, enduring 2 job losses, and his regular late-night overtime, the warmth between us dwindled. We didn't argue, but we also grew apart. I convinced myself that was typical after so many years. Then a storm hit. A harsh wind blew open our roof, as if reopening an old wound. Andy was overwhelmed at work, leaving me to handle the necessary repairs. I discovered a local contractor named Martin from strong build, radiating an understated authority that held your attention unwittingly. On his initial visit, the sun graced us, a rarity in Alaska. He labored without a shirt. I offered him water. It was just water. Yet an internal transformation occurred. He gazed at me, not beyond or through me, but squarely into my eyes, acknowledging my presence as more than someone's spouse or mother. I dismissed it as inconsequential. I retreated indoors, even chuckling at the absurdity of it all. However, on the second day, I observed him from the kitchen window for longer than was appropriate. By the third day, I inquired about the project's duration. On the fourth, I invited him inside for lunch. He accepted. We conversed, simply chatted, about various topics ranging from life to literature, music, and how Alaska can feel desolately populated despite its inhabitants. Eventually, the task was completed. From the rooftop he descended, wiping perspiration off his forehead before announcing his departure. It was then that the unexpected occurred. I remained rooted at the entranceway, pulse racing, phrases slipping away before I could grasp them. "Don't leave, please." And yet he stayed. The events that transpired thereafter would disrupt everything I believed to be in control. Regrettably, I cannot assure you that I intervened in time. The remorse didn't flood me swiftly enough to stifle the pain before it spread. However, that is untruthful. Martin remained with me that day. He settled on the couch as I prepared coffee, and we engaged in conversation about various topics, trivial and profound. The quiet between us was palpable, not vacant but electric. Neither of us made a move to touch each other. But an intangible force transpired between us that neither dared to identify. When he eventually departed, I lingered by the window long after his vehicle had vanished from sight on the road. My limbs trembled. My countenance felt warm. And my heartbeat echoed a sensation I hadn't experienced in years: desire, anxiety, liveliness. Evening arrived and Andy kissed my cheek, expressing fatigue. I prepared dinner as he freshened up. As usual, we sat at the table. However, for the first time in a while, my mind wasn't preoccupied with him. I despised myself for this fact. The ensuing days were filled with internal struggles. I shied away from contacting Martin. Yet I continued to read our repair text messages compulsively, finding solace in them. His name consumed my gaze. At times, I composed messages but erased them. On other occasions, my thumb hovered over the call button. Eventually he reached out first. "Hello," he murmured, his voice soft. Checking if everything's okay with the roof. I assured him it was fine, and then inquired if he wanted to visit just to make sure. He dropped by the next day. This time I applied makeup. I rationalized it as precautionary, a means to regain my sense of self. Martin swiftly checked the roof but stayed in the living room instead of leaving, hands casually tucked into his jeans. I offered him coffee once more. He said yes once more. I inquired about his personal life, and he confessed he was divorced, childless. He chose to work solo, admitting it suited him better. I appreciate the quiet, he said. Yet it occasionally becomes overwhelming. I acknowledged with a nod. I understood fully what that implied. Although no physical interactions took place, every emotional exchange did. That night, I faced the bathroom mirror and saw an unfamiliar person staring back. Not merely older or fatigued but fractured. Andy entered behind me, cleaning his teeth. He asked if I was all right. I smiled, feigning exhaustion. Then, I joined Andy in bed, unaware of how much I had drifted away from him. The following week, Martin reappeared. This time he carried a box of nails, explaining he'd forgotten to reinforce certain areas. I knew his excuse was false, but allowed him entry anyway. And then came the day I can never forget. Andy arrived home earlier than usual. In the kitchen, Martin stood uncomfortably close. I don't recall what we discussed, but we laughed. I lightly touched his arm, just enough. I didn't notice the garage door or keys being put away, but I did hear my husband's voice. Angela, we froze. I swiftly turned, almost spilling the mug in my hand. Andy stood in the hallway, his gaze flickering between Martin and me. He remained silent initially, then nodded slowly, claiming he had forgotten his work phone, and headed to the bedroom. I heard a drawer open and close. When he passed us again, he did not say goodbye. Instead, he simply looked at me once more. Not with anger or confusion, but with something more unsettling, recognition. And then he was gone. Andy didn't return home that night. At first, I reassured myself that he just needed some space, perhaps staying at a friend's place or taking time to clear his mind. But by the second night, when he hadn't called or responded to any of my messages, I realized something was amiss. And this time it wasn't merely a roof issue, something was broken within us. Sitting on the edge of our bed, I gazed at the indentation in the pillow where his head should have been. The house was eerily quiet, a silence that wasn't comforting but accusatory. Martin texted me that night, asking if I was all right. I didn't reply because the truth was I wasn't. I was disintegrating. I kept replaying that moment over and over again in my mind. Andy's expression as he walked in, his eyes scanning the room before he uttered a word, knowing something was amiss. He may not have had evidence, but he knew. 3 days later, Andy returned home. He didn't scream or demand explanations. Instead, he told me he needed time and would be staying at a nearby rental. He assured me he didn't hate me, but admitted he didn't recognize me right now. His voice was remarkably calm, yet it shattered me. He left his wedding ring on the kitchen counter. I stood there for hours, unable to budge, the simple gold band feeling heavier than the entire repaired roof that Martin had fixed. As for Martin, he vanished. No messages or phone calls. Driving by the stated address on his invoice revealed only an old mailbox and worn-out tracks vanishing into woods. He appeared vanished, as if he'd never existed before. A week later, I received a letter from the licensing board. Martin wasn't licensed. He had prior complaints in another region of the state. One woman claimed he stole from her, while another accused him of unwelcome visits weeks after jobs were completed. I had been taken in by a stranger whose real identity was unknown. The consequences were genuine. Gossip spread throughout town. A friend at church ceased inviting me to the women's group. My sister queried about Andy's well-being, then stopped when she noticed it wasn't fine. Persistently, I tried reaching him by phone and letters, even weeping through therapy sessions, pleading with God for a chance to set things right. However, broken roofs rarely mend identically. In the span of 3 months, Andy sat opposite me at a cafe to confess he had initiated legal separation. His gaze held fatigue and age, mirrored by my own. He wasn't leaving because of Martin, he explained, but because I didn't believe he deserved honesty. I was tempted to shout that I hadn't intended to fall or drift, But intentions can't undo the damage. Thus here I am alone, residing in the same house. The leaks are gone from the roof, yet everything else is flooded. If you're watching this and clinging to unspoken words, speak up. Don't let a stranger become your outlet for release. Don't mute your needs until they erupt through broken vows. I've come to understand that temptation isn't always adorned in red dresses and hidden in dark rooms. Sometimes it dons work boots, carries a hammer, and presents as the solution to repair what's crumbling, only to demolish what truly matters. Share your thoughts on this narrative below. Have you ever encountered a righteous individual committing a regrettable blunder? Have you ever risked something valuable in pursuit of fleeting joy? If this narrative resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your backing sustains this platform and empowers us to deliver authentic, unfiltered narratives each week. Until our next encounter, take good care of your emotions and your shelter.